Good evening, everyone, and how are we doing? Coming back at you with a video. Now, we're going to be talking about, and you'll probably seen from the title, obviously, if you've clicked on the video, but we're going to be talking about now the next phase that Football Index as a platform is really going to be moving into the now. But first of all, we've got a little bit of housekeeping to do. Just with obviously, we did a video like last week or something. But prior to that, we kind of dropped off the radar for a little while, just with life and doing some transactions, whatever. So we'll just show you the portfolio and get you up to speed with exactly everything where everything's at. Okay, so for the deposit bonus, we went quite heavy on Mertens. Okay, now this didn't work out awful, and it didn't work out amazing either. We got him at like 132, I think, or something like that. Yeah, 132, 133 with 100 shares of my own money, and then I got the rest of the money together for the deposit bonus thing, and then got on the rest of that as well. So all in, it was like 900 odd Mertens. It was just over a grand in them, and overall price was 133. And the first week after we had him, he finished second in treble match day for a PB, which was gutting. And then the week right as we sold him, he finished second to Messi in the Champions League, and he got like a goal and or 2 goals and 2 assists or something, but he paid back a couple of pence in dividends and stuff, and we just bought him a shade too high. We basically we lost the price per share that we'd earned on the IPDs, so we lost 4 pence a share. We sold them at 129, but we'd gained 4 pence from the IPDs. So overall, we're just net down to 2%, and because we've done it for the deposit bonus, it just happened. We got 10% for it, so we're still up 8%. The thought process behind the Mertens was obviously just somewhere safe for the money to go with good potential to win something, and it was one of those one sliding doors. If you've not won those treble match days, having like 900 odd shares or something like Mertens, the price growth they got, number one, for a serious period of time, and number two, the dividend bagging off the back of the result itself, it could have turned out amazing. We were just a little bit unlucky with it. But since then, we've split that money in two, and we've pumped it into Rodrigo Moreno and Andre Kramaric, and it's pretty obvious why. The Rodrigo Moreno, you might find it quite funny. I put a tweet out about him when I kind of realised his price and situation and everything. We've basically liquidated the whole fantasy football team, almost all of it, and pardon me, dropped it into Goretzka. We've kept our goalkeeper. We just got £6 from Moreno. We've dropped that onto Patricio. We've still got Denier. We've still got De Bruyne, Neves and Ronaldo. But otherwise, we've wiped away the rest of the team and consolidated it all into Goretzka there, which is doing pretty well. And again, I put a tweet out, guys, when you see opportunities, and it's basically the opportunities I've seen now is what I want to discuss to you in terms of this whole phase two thing. But you've got to be aggressive. You've got to put your money where you see the growth. Having your chips like thinly spread across the table is safe, and you can kind of ride the waves. But what you're basically doing when you're doing that is you're backing the platform, and you're just kind of leaning towards things that could all explode. And we've been very lucky on this channel, you might say, where we've timed things pretty well. As well as sometimes you time things bad. You can't get it perfect every time, but as long as you're getting close to that, then you're always going to be relatively happy. So that's basically why we've done what we've done, and we'll ride these guys for as long as they've got, and then we'll play with the money and see what happens. But with phase two, guys, what I basically mean is we're at that point of the season now where Football Index have done all the major things that have been on the table, or in the background at least, certainly since I joined the platform, and it's taken about 18 months to 2 years to get a lot of those things addressed, and they're pretty solid now in terms of the platform, the growth, the situation it's in. It's all relative, everything's up to speed. There's not really anything that's lagging behind anymore, in my point of view, in terms of reward for users, experience, value, all these types of things. So the platform now is pretty much set in stone for another fair period of time. The next 12 to 18 months, there will be some changes, of course. Things will happen, and we'll discuss them as we go through, but the main makeup of the system, of the matrix and all these other things, is pretty steady right now. That's not going to get, the dividend structure will not be looked at again, I would imagine, for at least another year. I can't imagine them doing it again. It's quite a sizable change, and I think that's one of the main reasons they've made it such a big change in terms of the IPD, pardon me, the PB and MB payouts, is they don't want to come anywhere near it again anytime soon. I think that's what that tells you. And everything's, there's nothing broken, there's nothing OP, there's nothing OP, I'll get to that in a second, but there's nothing that's surprising, in a lot of ways, where it's just random things not doing what they should do. Okay, so with also now beginning with fixtures. You know, we've had enough of the season go by in the Champions League, the Europa League, and all the domestic leagues, and as well the international stuff. We've had a few windows of them already as well. We're now in a situation where the players who are going to have a good season are not going to be a surprise anymore, okay? Now, there'll still be players that will pick up their form now, and probably even in January, February, you'll find some late bloomers who will kick on, get a second wind, and have a good end of the season. But the people we're going to be talking about for the 1920 season, a lot of them are kind of showing their faces now, you know, and it's not a real surprise. When you see everything we just discussed in terms of the changes the Matrix Football Index have made, now that all three of them are locked in, the share split, just to be clear, the share split, the matrix change, and the dividend change we've just had, all three of those things locked in now. We're all quite well settled with where everything's at. To see like Trent Alexander-Arnold, I've seen Cruz as well, and Luis Alberto, you know, some of these guys are really obvious why they're exploding right now. You know, they're very safe bets to be holding at this period in time. We've seen enough of them. Sabitzer, obviously, if you've seen Leipzig the other day when I seen that 8-0, if you're new around here, I went big on Leipzig for most of this season. I just had to withdraw money for, I think it was my MOT I needed that money for, unfortunately, and you know, we made good money on it already when it came back to Leipzig, but the margins, and you know, we've lost a good position. You know, we could have, you know, if just personally, if I was a welfare man, I could have kept that money there and we'd be doing much better. But hey ho. But anyway, my point is these players are not a surprise to you. The ones that are going to be up and amongst the dividend, you know, Thiago Alcantara, Stefano Sensi, you know, there's a litany of names here, Paco Alcacer, even McTominay's looked decent, De Bruyne of course, Martinelli's made a name for himself, De Jong I've held for a while, and you know, he's always kind of threatens to get in amongst it but never quite does it. Verratti's had a good season so far, so's Gundogan, you know, he was really cheap like not that long ago. I just didn't think the market loved him that much, but his form's made people stand up and take notice, I guess. That's in the last month, you know, he's really exploded because the form players are now starting to show, and you see who the front running teams are, we see who's on form, and there's a few question marks going into the beginning of the season about this team, this player, that player. A lot of those question marks are now getting dispelled. So short term now we're going to be looking at, this is not me individually, you know, but if you're thinking short term, we're in phase 2 now. The short term of that, what does that look like? It's really going to be the December and the January fixtures where we're going to find double match days starting to crop up once we start to get the winter breaks all factored in with the fixture congestion. You know, around the Christmas period, you're going to start to see that especially the English Premier League players that have double match days, single match days, of course, and available to them over that period are going to be widely sought after, and their prices can only really go up if they've got good fixtures over that time period as well. The early sniffings of a transfer window, there's always going to be a few players that move. There's never going to be that much. And there's always going to be headlines from some certain players that might run on. I'll give you a great example. Last year I had Coutinho, and it was nothing to do with transfers, but he played a really good game. Barca won 4-0 against somebody, and he played well, and the next day he was linked to Man United, and I was doing videos at the time, and I said, like, I sold him as soon as I seen those rumours because he had a great spike in price. I didn't see it coming. You know, it wasn't planned, and I knew for a fact there's no way he's going to Man United in January. You know, bearing in mind the January prior to that, he'd left Liverpool in the January window for Barca, cup tying himself in the Champions League, which, you know, he's never got, no player on the planet's going to do that 2 years running. So that was never going to happen. But again, players who, you know, even have sniffs of transfer spec in January, you can get a 24-hour pop on, and if you've been holding them long enough and you're happy to take that pop when it comes, then you can really be rubbing your hands, and that could happen for, again, a good clutch of players that you'll probably see on the screen now. Also as well, we're then looking at the pretty much foregone conclusion that Football Index will be doing a risk-free January sort of bonus thing for new users to try and grab new people. Now, the thing about January, right, is for me personally last year, I didn't have that much money to put into January, so I just had to kind of ride with what I had. But even if you're in that position as well, what you've got to bear in mind is they do target new people to come in, and they offer more money, and people will take advantage of even just that alone. So what you always find is the market in January, it did grow, you know, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't one of those months. It did surprise you because you expected it to maybe hover, maybe stagnate, go backwards. It did go up, you know, but that was mainly down to like these big risk-free and radio ads and all this kind of stuff. And they've really upped their game obviously this year. They've got the football sponsorship, they've got the TV ads. So that this January coming, we had good growth last year in January with the media exposure they had. This year it can only really get bigger, to be honest with you. They're just more visible, and it's one of these things, the longer it's out there, the more normal it becomes, the more people talk about it, the more people do get involved with it, do trust it, do put the money in, do have a go. And whether they solidify as users or not for that short term in January, if you are skint in January and you're holding somebody now and you think, do you know what, if I've got money to pay my bills at the end of January, this could be an easy guy to hold. Somebody like, just and when we're talking about this kind of thing, the players that are always safe to hold are premium players, because new people will use some of their brain to buy some players. They'll buy some people at 60p and 80p, but they'll also put a considerable amount of money, and it's something they'll consider to be safe. And by virtue of the price, the premium players are the safest on the platform, so holding them longer term is always going to pay dividends in more ways than one, no pun intended. Medium term then becomes the players that are going to have the longest runs in the European competitions, the Champions League and the Europa League, because I'm just telling you, I've been saying it in the last couple of videos, but I'm just telling you, you've got no idea. The players that are going to get to the semi-finals, quarterfinals at least, they are going to be very valuable to be buying now, regardless of, and there's always going to be the best opportunity to buy somebody, but what you need to remember is you're not always going to find the best opportunity every time. Sometimes you just need, it was the best opportunity going at the time, and then I could take it off the list, I've put my money in him, I can forget about him and I can focus elsewhere, or that monkey's off my back, or whatever your rationale is. But that's what you need to accept, is you won't always find the best time to buy every player. As long as you find it sometimes, again, we'll be happy. But if you hang yourself up on, I have to buy him at the best time every time, you will miss out, and you'll just get frustrated with your own decision making. So sometimes you just need to, I've been looking at this guy for too long, I'm just going to buy him and do it, and especially if they hover around not just having a longer run in the Champions League and the Europa League, but being European and being eligible for the Euros, especially for a bigger nation, because again, that is going to be a great period of growth. And if you're thinking medium term, we're just talking about the cusp of the Euros, kind of just basically 7 months or so from now, where again, more people will be coming on board. There's then a focus on the amount of players that are really current, and short-term valuable on the index in that period of time. And it writes off all South American players, it writes off all African players, and then also there are continents as well for the part they play on the index. It wipes them out as well. So the European players then have a massive caveat, and we can all see it coming now, but again, if you're thinking, oh, that was built into his price as I look at him now, yeah, it probably is to an extent, but there's always going to be further organic growth and further pushes in the market, more money. And even if that's only stimulated even in a decent percentage by the dividend payout, because when they pay out more dividends, more money returns into the market, because people take their dividends and more often than not double down on somebody, buy a wee cheap player, just put that money to one side, do a variety of things, so by the dividends going up the percentages they have, they're almost guaranteeing a degree of growth already. As long as people have winners, then there's always going to be a degree of reinvestment and compounding profits on the platform. And then again, similar to the short term, again, you've got to be thinking about new customer incentives. For the World Cup, they did a sweepstake kind of 100 grand draw thing. And again, if they do something similar for the Euros, they're only going to get more people on board, and with exposure and continued success, etc., etc. And the kind of early sniffs again of transfers for the summer. Now, with the World Cup, you've probably seen last year, when around the World Cup, not a lot of transfers happened. A few happened right early at the World Cup with some big teams, and then I think like Fabinho and stuff. No, am I tripping? What summer was that? Some transfers were tied up really quickly, and others waited till right after. And it depends on how teams done, and so having teams held early before tournaments, and especially if they're in that position where maybe they're getting a wee bit too big for the club they're at, they're starting to impress, they're in a good nation, they might have the opportunity to go on and actually get a bigger move to a top team, then those people will always become more valuable in time. In short term, that's pretty much what we're going to be looking at. And now we have the benefit, because I believe certainly anyway, the platform is now going to be fairly, as I said at the beginning of the video, set in stone for a considerable period of time. We can now start to think again a little bit, and this just depends on how focused you are and what sort of game you're playing on the index to make money. But if you start to cast your mind forward to next season, there will be some things you can identify now that might be fairly risky, but on that scale of things, even with organic growth alone, you're maybe not going to be in too tricky a position with it when it comes to maturing in a year down the road or whatever you're aiming at, is thinking about the dynamics we're going to have next season. What managers are on shaky ground now, might not even see the season out. What players, again, are outperforming their stature or underperforming, who's going to be moving around and that kind of thing. And like again, like this time last year, I knew Nagelsmann was going to Leipzig. They announced it last year, and they put Ralf Rangnick in charge. And so again, if you get any sniffs of that kind of thing, where they're going to be in a great position next year, and you might want to pay a bit more attention to some things that are going on. You might not buy them right now, but something you start to monitor much closer ahead of time. Is as the signals drop into place for you, you might start to close on some positions that you think, right, well, this guy's probably quite a good hold, and this, that, and the other, and you know. For whatever reasons, managers changing, maybe you're thinking about, I don't know, just to give you an example, like Lampard's second season, who would he buy? Who would the big Bayer marquee signing for Chelsea be? Because they're probably not going to, this is just an example, but they're probably not going to go and spread and buy hundreds of players. Lampard doesn't strike me as A, the type of guy that would do that, and B, the success they have this year, I'm sure they wouldn't want to undermine that. So they're probably going just get a marquee player or two. Who could that be? What team will they come from? What position will they likely play? What attributes should they have? What attributes will they be looking for? You're asking themselves those sorts of questions. And again, as you see things transpire, you might want to close down on these sorts of things. But before, guys, I've always kind of moaned a little bit because I try and plan as long term as I can in some instances, and then they'll just do like, 10% back on net buys starting today, and it's like, oh crap, I wanted to sell everything and withdraw money. And sometimes you just can't control the timing of events and whatever. But I think a lot of things are now pretty set in stone, and failing deposit bonuses and new customer schemes, there's not going to be any real seismic changes on the platform now for the foreseeable future. If there is, I'd be mightily surprised, but I think we're pretty set right now. What do you think, guys? Short term, middle term, long term? I want a player. If you've made it this long in the video, I want a player from you for each term who you think is going to stand out or who could be a good buy based on the kind of things we discussed. If there's anything you'd want to throw in, obviously add that below. Like, share, subscribe, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.